Yo, what's up guys, Hunter and Casablanca fan up back with another video, and today I'm back here again, but in Florida once more, but however, this is going to be kind of a different video, not a video of these two fans, but the one right here is the one I'm showing about. Yup, you heard me, the Hunter 2nd Century Original is going to have a story time because it gets really interesting, but it does have a sad, tragic ending, unfortunately. But the fan's still with us, as we all know, but because the original owner, we all know what happened to her. It's just really sad at the end, so get prepared for more. So I'm gonna go jump straight into the story now. It all began in 1993 when my grandmother decided to buy a ceiling fan for her living room. She bought this 52-inch Hunter 2nd Century Original in 1993 from Pacific Ceiling Fans, as we all know. And yeah, this is my grandma's first pick of the fan for the living room. And yeah, it was a great fan for the living room. It had a ton of power, and it blew a ton of air too, and it was great quality because it's cast iron. And yeah, this fan was a big childhood for me because it was my grandma's living room fan first pick. And yeah, back in the day, as we know, this photo was taken in 1996, but yeah, this was my grandma's living room fan. And yeah, I used to remember pranking my grandpa with this fan when he had the newspapers blow off the coffee table when I turned it on every time it was on medium. And it just shows you how strong this fan truly is. And it was a great fan. I remember doing that, but until probably around like 2007 when the cap failed. But before getting it, I want to talk about it. After failing to get my first fan, I remember from my childhood from my grandparents' house. That was a Westinghouse. I don't know what the model was, but it was a really weird looking fan. But after failing to get that, I actually told my grandpa and grandma that if the fan breaks down or gives you problems, then to let me know. And sure enough, in 2007, late 2007, that's when the cap failed for this fan. And it just quit working that day, and then all of a sudden we turned it off, and yeah, I remember going to Christmas party trying to turn it on, but it didn't work. But yeah, that year, 2007. But then 2008 came about, and we decided to replace this fan with the Hampton-based Sibley ceiling fan, as we all know. But Sibley itself, we all know, is no longer there in that living room because we've replaced it with the Hunter Osborne. But that ain't a part of the video because we're talking about this specific fan. As you know, this fan was actually taken down. And yeah, I remember having so much fun with it, playing with it on the ground, and I went through a lot of torture when I was a little kid, trust me. And yes, this fan actually is now in my collection, as we know. In 2008, my grandpa took it down with me, and yeah, he gave me the fan, and yeah. And then a few days later, we all know my grandpa, my uncle, and me decided to install the Hampton-based Sibley in the living room. The one with the Capistrano we're talking about. But in 2008, later on, it got hung up in the testing rig V1 spot, which we all know. That's when the start of it came about, but the fan didn't work until like 2014 because I didn't know what the problem was. And yeah, I remember having it hung out there, and we used the light a lot, but never really the fan because it didn't work.
at the time. And it was in that V1 testing rig spot. Then 2012 it came down, and then I hung the Halsey G vent for a very short time and then took it down. But I decided to fix up the Hunter Second Century in 2014, which I got a capacitor, which I figured out what the problem was at Pacific Ceiling Fans, and I gave it a new capacitor, pulled the chain a couple times, and I feel like, and then all of a sudden something turned on, and the fan turned on, and it worked perfectly for a little bit. The fan ran pretty much great until 2017 when the windings failed. It was taken down, put into storage until, like, as we know, 2021. But I know I checked the oil every month when I came up there when it was in the V1 test rig spot. But I don't know about the oiling in the past and when it was in the original install, because I don't ever recall my grandparents oiling it. But as we all know. But in 2021, I took this fan out of storage, replaced the windings, and yeah, we hung it up on testing rig V3, which is in my grandparents' sunroom, and it worked super well there. And I decided to take it down in 2022, and decided to take it home, give it a new Ricotta paint and everything, restore it cosmetically, because that fan has been sitting out, and then my grandparents didn't really take the best care of it, but as we all know, but I did respray it, gave it a new coat of paint, and it looked really good for the most part. But until I ran out of paint for the switch housing to repaint it with the nice glossy black finish, and yeah, it's kind of messed up a little bit, but in the paint job, but I already got more paint, but when I come back home, I'll still work on it. And yeah, this fan actually sat in storage for a little bit in 2022 after I took it down for a little bit, but then I decided to reinstall it after I let the paint dry for the fan. And I said, you know what, I want it in my room. And sure enough, I did put it in my room. And yeah, I gave it a new coat of paint for the most part, but then when I hung it up, I made sure I oiled it, which I did. And I kept this fan up in my room until March 16th of this year. Unfortunately, then I decided to put up the Hunter original from 1985 in my room. But I decided to put it back up later on in that day. But unfortunately, I got a really bad phone call that day on my phone. And it was from my mom. About my grandma, as you know. And yes, this was the last ceiling fan she's seen before she passed away on March 16th of 2022 at 11 p.m. And man, it was such a tragic moment for her to see her previous fan before she passed away and her first pick too. It was such an emotional moment that it's just really sad at the end. But then a few months later, I decided to take this fan down, put it into storage again. And that was the last time we've seen this fan for a little bit, but I still have it around. There's no worry about that, but it's just, now it's in storage. Before I left Hawaii and came down to Florida just for fun, and yeah, as we all know, but I'll be coming back in December and we'll see this fan again. So yeah, that's pretty much most of the part of the story, but then, yeah. And some people may have asked me to sell it or sell it to them or give it for trade and all that, but I still refuse to do it because now this fan is part of my history and why I love fans so much and why I cannot give it up and why I refuse to to flip the blades over as much as possible and change out the pull fobs. And try not to do that now because after you heard the ending of the story for the most part, it just really means a lot to me now. It has that moment now. So, yeah, I guess that wraps it up for the most part. But anyways, but thing is, it originally had the 12-inch down rod when it was in the living room of my grandparents' house, but then I changed it out with a 3-inch rod because my ceiling in my room was only 8 feet high, and yeah. But I still have the rod around, but I'm not going to use it that time because my ceiling is way too low to mount the fan on that rod. I even also forgot to mention this fan has been saved twice in its life from getting trashed. One time in 2008, and I just had to be around and had to advocate to get this fan. And then second time around was when my aunt was wanting to clean up the little sunroom at my grandparents' house, and I told them that do not touch any of my fans. I'm taking them home with me. And sure enough, I was a man of my word. And yeah, I guess that concludes the whole story of this fan. And yeah, there you have it. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more videos to come. See you all next time.